my years of living on earth, very few things have irked me as much as somebody looking at me and saying, you know, I just wish I was as strong as you, but I'm just so sensitive. It's just not my nature. I just get too much. I just love too much. I'm just too in search whatever nonsense excuse they usually come up with. And I'm sitting there thinking, what? What? Oh my God. It is really a huge telltale sign of somebody who has no plans of taking responsibility for themselves. Because what you're not doing is asking how. How do you do it? What you're doing is othering the person, because of course, the only way they can be that kind of person that they are is by being a different breed of human. This not only undermines the sacrifices and effort of the person, but completely renders you helpless, completely absolves you of responsibility if the reason I am the way I am is because I was born with some sort of gene. Some innate special superpower that grants me that which you lack, then you can blame nature, you can blame the skies, you can blame creation for your troubles. That behavior is dishonest. The only honest question and the only honest assumption to make when you see a person who has what you don't have, or who is doing something you're not doing but wish you could, is to ask, what price did they pay? And am I willing to pay the same? Everything has a price, every single thing. The life you want will cost you the life you have. The life you're too afraid to live is costing you the one you could have. Every time I get these statements, I think to myself, I'm not stronger than you. I am literally the poster child for sensitivity. If you're looking for sensitivity in human form, here I am. Everything I share here is a result of that deep attunement. I am just somebody who is willing to lose some skin in the game. So let's talk about what it actually takes. The first thing I want to share with you today is to understand the difference between emotional security and emotional safety. Most people don't know there's a difference, which is why we tend to stay stuck in cycles or in situations that aren't conducive. With safety, you are chasing this warm, soft, everything is okay feeling. With security, you understand that anything could actually come into your space, into your life and disrupt, distort, confuse, rupture things, but no worries. Because you have built a security system to respond when those things happen. Safety is about feeling, security is about systems. And for the record, that anything can actually include you, because we'll be making mighty, crazy decisions sometimes, okay? A security system is what you need to survive and thrive in this life, because you cannot control everything. Your response is where your power resides. Think of it this way. What is the actual role of security in any establishment? If you think about it plainly, the only answer might be to prevent awful things from happening and to keep people safe. But that's only part of it. Security doesn't just exist to prevent threats. It exists to respond to them. That's why when something happens when you're out and about, you call the police, you report to security, or you tell somebody who can invoke that power. They're not just there to recognize danger when it shows up, but to act even if the danger has slipped past them. To protect when something crosses the line, when something feels off, okay? It's not about creating an illusion where nothing bad could ever happen to you. It's about building systems to know what to do when it does. There's this viral clip I saw going around a while back of Dr. Gabo Mate speaking to, I think it was Mel Robbins, yes, podcaster Mel Robbins. And he asked her if there was a traumatic childhood memory she was willing to share. And when she did, Gabo said to them, actually, that's not where your trauma lies. And they were like, what? And Gabo says, your trauma started before that. It wasn't just what happened to you. It was the fact that you could not go to the people who were supposed to protect you to tell them that something had happened to you. That's where it all began. Whoa! I mean, that's why he is who he is, but But that explains the difference between safety and security. Both of them are needed, but security relies on structure. What do I do when there's a breach? And that's what was missing in that story that Mel told. The child had nowhere to turn to when things went awry. That was the crux of the wounding. If we apply it in our grown lives, because children need all those things from their primary caretakers, but as we grow, we become these things for ourselves. Prime example, a lot of us stay in the wrong situations for too long because we are stuck on safety. But they made me feel safe. But they were sweet at first. They said all the right things, but I felt this way, but they didn't mean to. They should have known better. Or for some people, they are thinking for sure, if I let them in, if I liked this person, they must be good because I was careful this time. I asked all the right questions. I did all the right things. This is why a lot of people go through that cycle where something terrible happens. And instead of realizing and believing that it happened, okay, because they don't have any of those systems set up, there's this cognitive dissonance where we think, this might just be a fluke. It's not that real. It's just something, it's a once in a lifetime thing. It just happened because I met this person this way. So maybe if I do this and I do that and I change myself this way and that way, then we can go back to how it used to be. Huh? My sisterin and brethren, have you ever seen airport security negotiating with a threat? Have you ever been walking past security and they're talking to somebody like, hi? We wonder if you're, are you? No. Have you ever seen such a thing? Security doesn't gaslight your gut. They don't explain away all the signals and cries for help from your body. Security doesn't need endless justification. It is not afraid to act in response to reality, not your hopes for how it could have been. Your emotional security system is not just built on self-respect, it calls it forward. Remember that the actions that build the virtue are also the actions that prove it. There's this stunning essay or article called On Self-Respect by Joan Didion, where she writes, and I'll read. There is a common superstition that self-respect is a kind of charm against snakes. Something that keeps those who have it locked in some unblighted Eden, out of strange beds, ambivalent conversations, and trouble in general. It does not at all. People with self-respect have the courage of their mistakes. They know the price of sins. They exhibit a certain toughness, a kind of moral nerve. They display what was once called character. And she goes on to say, character is the willingness to accept responsibility for one's own life. Self-respect is the discipline, a habit of mind that can never be faked, but can be developed, trained, coaxed forth. That entire piece is a word. I recommend you to read it, okay? I'll link it below. What a person does or doesn't do can never be on you. I will never get on the train of blaming people for what happened to them. That's vile. Bull crap. However, what we do going forward has a lot to do with us, okay? So how do we build our security system? You work on your self-esteem, self-confidence, healing your inner child. You work on removing the mask, getting to know yourself so that you can build a creed that allows you to identify what you need to erect systems that will serve you well. My videos are a great resource. Therapy, if you have access to it. You can also check out my workbook for more detailed work and guidance. And there are so many people in this online space that have wonderful insights. So use what you have. Use all the knowledge that is free online. Now, number 2, keep the promises you make to yourself, no matter how small. Just yesterday, I woke up to a rainy morning. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if I didn't have plans of going to the gym, okay? I walk to my gym and I'm a person who only likes rain when I'm indoors and shielded from it. I like rain, the sound of rain on my windows, not on my body. Yeah? Okay. And it might not seem like a big deal, but I can count on 3 fingers how many times I've been caught in the rain in my entire life. And one of them was intentional. And it took an hour to convince me to go under the rain. I am that meticulous about it. Okay? And also, I was on the last leg of my period yesterday, so 2 strikes. So I did the normal thing. I told myself, you know what, Pearl, darling, I'm just going to sit down. I'm just going to do some writing, like the writer that I am, and then do Pilates at home. 2:00 came. I had written Dokko, as you can imagine, nothing. Pilates, nowhere in sight. And my body was begging to be moved. So I gave it some thought and I was like, Pearl, darling, how will you feel tomorrow if you don't go today? Mind you, I hadn't worked out on Friday because I wasn't feeling that great either. And I had done my pep talk. On Friday I was like, yeah, it's not you. I will go tomorrow. Trust you. Trust me. Us will be there. But I was here in my house yesterday trying to make up another excuse. And that's when I remembered, done is better than perfect. I just needed to move my body. It was not that deep. That's all. And I'm somebody who deserves the promises made to them to be kept. The rules don't change because I'm the one involved. Okay? It starts with me. I can't exempt myself from that rule. I immediately jumped up, dressed up, and promised myself one thing only. Yeah, dramatic, I know. But all I had to do was to walk to the gym, do a 30-minute incline walk, and come back home. No lifting, no weights, no stretching, nothing. And that's exactly what I did. In fact, even the 30 minutes felt like too much. So I did it in 5-minute increments. I just kept telling myself, 5 more to go, baby. 5 more, my darling. You've got this. 5 more, 5 more. And once that timer hit 30 minutes, I stopped that machine. Like he owed me money. I slapped it and I ran out of the gym. This might seem like nothing, but little things like this are how you build the self-trust that drives self-respect. A lot of us don't keep promises we make to ourselves, even the tiniest ones. The thing you said you would do that day. My dear, you said it in 2024, January. We're in July. You haven't done it. Nothing. And then you think that if something big happens, you can keep that promise to yourself. Think of it like this. If you can't spare £1 when you have 10, you can't spare 10 when you have 100. And 100 will definitely feel like too much, even if you have 10,000. How you handle small things usually reflects how you handle big things. If I practice honesty and discipline in my daily life, when I am faced with something out of the ordinary, I will naturally resort to the virtues which already reside within me. I cannot apply that which I do not know. Take the things you say you would do seriously, okay? And do them. Not perfectly, just done. Remember, what do you want? And what price are you willing to pay for it? Number 3. Stop being so darn humble. Oh my gosh, did I just bark? Yeah. The reason why so many of us struggle to practice self-respect is because we are so accustomed. We are so used to, we have been conditioned to putting ourselves down. We play small and pretend we don't know what we are capable of until somebody else validates it first. This was one of my biggest struggles in school. I remember, I'll be minding my business, my precious business, and somebody will hit me with, you think you're better than everybody else. You act like you're all that. You think you're smart. You're so condescending. And meanwhile, the whole time, I was just trying to exist, all while being ostracized and bullied. I didn't belong, and yet, those people who belonged to the groups that were happening, popular and all those things, couldn't stop minding my business. And then one day, as I was inspecting this behavior that was strange to me, I thought, there's something here. These people are seeing something I'm refusing to accept. I have never said I was better than you. I don't even think about you, my love. But your obsession with what I must be thinking only means one thing. In this moment, it doesn't have to be permanent, but in this moment, you know that I am better than you. And it makes you mad. I irritate something within you just by existing, and I had to accept it, okay? Because one thing I have never ever thought to myself, and I swear to the skies, I have never looked at somebody and thought, this person must think they are better than me. Never. When I see somebody who shows up in a way that is mighty and unique and beautiful, I am enthralled, inspired. I am like, hey, so this is possible. Wow. What level is this? How do I get here? That's how I feel. I don't feel intimidated by people. I feel inspired by them. I love people who know who the F they are. People who walk like they earn the earth, because they do. It is not their fault or my fault that you don't realize that you are a child of the soil. Many of us are waiting to be noticed, waiting for permission to shine, to take up space. We don't want to be called arrogant. We don't want people to question the nature of our ego. Listen, self-denial is not a virtue. It's actually okay to think you are the shit and to act accordingly. To somebody who is afraid to breathe, you breathing comfortably might feel like an attack, like a lack of sensitivity, like inhumanity. I have come to a point in my life where I expect to be treated great. I am always in shock when somebody treats me badly, because I can't compute in my brain how a person can treat me poorly. Yeah. And that's what has allowed me to care for myself. I don't assume I am the problem, because I trust that the people who love me and want me in their life, if they have an issue with me, if they have a bone to pick with me, they won't resort to punishing me. They won't resort to trying to humble me. They will have a loving conflict resolution with me. That's how I treat my loved ones, and I expect to be treated as such. It is not crazy to expect to be treated how you treat other people. Hello? It's a simple rule. So I don't really think, oh, they treated me badly because I am not lovable. I am too much. I am this and I am that. I think, sorrows, prayers. What a pity. Their loss. And I move on. And one might think, Pearl, don't you think that's a little bit conceited? You're too full of yourself. I fear you are right. My brethren, who else shall I be full of? You? I am sorry that your experience of the world is one where people expect you to be full of them. My favorite people are people who are their own MVP, please. Because I know that the time and love and efforts that they sow into me comes from a place of life, not death. Why are you people so tied to this idea of people suffering in the name of liking you? What came from this thing, okay? Where is it from? Real humility isn't about pretending you don't matter. You know that you do. You just don't weaponize it. Did you catch that? True humility exists in tandem with self-respect. I don't even think you can have one without the other. Let's start there. So stop waiting on people to crown you. Stop playing dumb. Stop pretending you don't know who you are. Act like you know what's up. Let the world adjust. And I am part of the world, my dear. I will adjust, okay? I include myself. I will adjust. Number 4, emotional regulation. You need it like air if you want to keep respecting yourself. If you want to master self-respect, you need it like you need air. Okay? If your feelings and emotions are your master, you'll be subject to any wave that passes through. It is hard to maintain boundaries, to stand up for what is right, to implement change and do the hard things one must when you are running on just your feelings. The goal is to have controlled chaos, okay? To allow your feelings space to breathe and to return to your baseline as quickly as possible. This is why I am a big fan of rituals. I gave an example of this in my last video, okay? How do you allow an emotion to visit in a way where you welcome them, they do what they need to do and leave eventually without completely thrashing your house? This is the difference between two people who experience the exact same misfortune. One person comes out on top and the other person is buried. Regulation. And thank heavens, it's a skill that can be grown and learned. You don't have to be born with it. Some people are lucky enough to be trained as kids. If they do not give it to you, my darling, you can give it to yourself, okay? This is why when people say, they just did it because they were angry, please understand, I go, no, that's not true. Anger itself doesn't make anybody do anything. It's just an emotion. What happened is a lack of self-control, which we have all experienced. I know I have. But one must be honest about what is happening, okay? Some of the best music, poetry, some of the best art you've ever seen or listened to have been born of anger. In the same breath, some people have taken their life in response to similar situations that inspired the art we just talked about. Speaking for myself, I have within me the level of rage that can burn down at least 5 nations. Yes, and I'm not ashamed of it. It has to be 5 massive nations for me to feel even remotely satisfied. But do you see me doing it? No. Do you see me spreading hate and wickedness? No. What you are looking at is a regulation problem, not an emotion problem. When I talk about emotions as informants, some people freak out. This is it. This is your assignment. Self-respect requires less emotional reactivity. You need to be able to feel things and still do things that must be done. Again, everything has a price. What are you willing to pay? And do not forget what I always say. The thing that proves the virtue is the thing that builds the virtue. If saying no is such a big fear for you, remember that every no you need to say is a yes to your life, to your dreams, to your advancements. So when you're like, yeah, but I just feel bad, what you are saying in essence is I am not willing to pay the price. Because I also feel bad when I say no sometimes. Especially at the beginning, I'll say no and I'll be having nightmares. But I no longer feel that way. But I paid the price, which is how I got here. When you say, well, I want to leave, but he, they, she, it's okay, my darling. But what you are saying is, I am not willing to pay the price. There is no shame here, but you must be honest. There's something about being honest. Instead of saying, I am not willing to pay the price. Say it and go and sleep. Lie down and respect yourself, okay? I have this dream, but sister. Remember what John Didion said. Character is the willingness to accept responsibility for one's own life. This is where self-respect begins. You get me? That's it from me today. Okay? Don't forget to sign up for my weekly newsletter, Neurocosmic Notes. If you want to get to know a bit more about me, you can read up on some of the notes I've already sent on the website, or the links are below. If you're dying to know just a bit more about me, you want to see me daily for some reason, follow me on Instagram. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure. My name is Pearl Girl, and I'll see you in the next video. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and we can find a fighter